Dun, 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 dun. It looks good from this part. It looks like all right. It looks like I'm just holding it really far back, but no. Hi and welcome to Tabletop Gaming. My name is Charlie and today I'm going to talk to you about something a little bit different. I'm going to talk to you about an experience that I had with a fake copy of a game and how this sort of affects the industry as a whole. But the way I'm going to do it is we're going to take a look at the differences between the legitimate, beautiful copy that I have here and what we ended up with when we accidentally obtained a forgery. Now, I don't think you're ready for it, so we'll leave it off camera for just a moment because honestly, it's like a grand reveal. You will be baffled. Now, forgery is a real problem in this industry and there's lots of reasons for it and lots of ways that it occurs. So it might be that the factory that created it kept the prototype versions and have been creating those. It might be that it's being distributed in an area that it is not legally distributable. So there are some areas that aren't allowed to import those board games, so they create their own. There's lots of reasons why. A lot of it obviously a money-making industry to try and rip off from the publishers that have created, and that's pretty much what we expect has happened in this case. Now, I've spoken about this very briefly in the podcast, but to recap, I bring this game to every single game night that I go to because it is a very quick and easy game to set up and it is perfect for pretty much anyone, from the youngsters to the older ones. There's an element of competition. We play it as a tournament and you can guarantee smiles and laughs and great fun. It's one of my top games. Now, one of the people that I played this with agreed that it was one of the best games, and they decided that they would order 2 for their subsequent friends for Christmas last year. Now, they went through Amazon and got a great deal on it, but they just had to wait 2 weeks for it to come because it was coming from China. But I will reassure you, first of all, before I go any further, that there was a full refund issued for what showed up, and what I have is the second copy, which is currently unopened. So what we're going to do is a comparison today between the original and what you get from that forgery in terms of why you shouldn't try and save money and buy a rip-off version. Just go for the beautiful original. Anyway, let's take a look. So of course we have our beautiful version here, lovely bright colours, nice size, fits together really nicely, and then this is what happened. Now that's not perspective, that is a good chunk smaller and weight-wise oddly similar. So I can't work out why a smaller box is that, but what we'll also talk about once I'll tell you what, let's take the plastic off and you can see without the shine that the plastic offers, ta-da! I hope you can pick up the difference in colours. It's so muted in comparison. I don't think it'll pick it up so well as to the differences, but it's like having like the full injected colour. It's beautiful, it's shiny, it's vibrant, and then this was like, should we put a dark filter over it and just see if it works? That's what this feels like, but look at the size difference. So obviously the front of it looks very similar, and when I spoke to the person that ordered it, they turned around and said it was all product shots from the original. So it should have looked like this based on the product that was shown, which is probably what helped in getting the refund. But this is obviously what showed up. So differences we have are pretty much just these bits at the front. So we said a game by Exploding Kittens, which is a bit naughty because it's not. This is a rip-off. 7+ and 2 players, which is not on the front here. We have a choking hazard warning because of the small balls that are inside, and that has moved across. So perhaps this was an earlier version, who knows? But if we spin them round, you can see we've got a whole description of what's going on the back of the real one, and the fake one has just gone with the same stars and stripes. Like, put the effort in, my friends. Okay, so if we then open her up, this has to be seen to be believed. Let me flick open. So this is what happens, right? This looks like I've printed it at home, and again, I don't think the colours will show up properly, but it's grey. It's kind of a grim, not very nice thing, and we've got embedding in the ears, we've got tiny little dials that show very little of those numbers, we've got the teeth, but this is cardboard, okay? So if let's compare, shall we? So let's open the original, which I'm afraid may be a little bit messy just because we've played it relatively recently. This is what you should get. This inserts in the centre of the board, and this is where you're going to fire your balls through. So first of all, the size difference in durability. This is plastic, this is cardboard. When you look at them directly, obviously they are a completely different size, and you'll notice that this part here has no hole, whereas this one does. You'll see those dials that I showed you on the real one are really vibrant, really big, and really easy to see too. So you can sort of see where they're coming from with this, but the bigger one then occurred and the proper version of it then came about. Now, the other thing that I'll mention is these little teeth in the bottom. They allow it to insert into the board itself. So if we squidge those in, that allows it then to stand up. Fabulous. Now, the issue, the only issue, no, I have so many issues with this, is that whilst we have the same setup and we have the same card, you can't put it in anywhere. There is no space for it to go. It just doesn't fit. So the whole point of the game, which is firing balls through this cat head, is impossible. Now, the other thing to mention, because if you're not familiar with it, you do need to know this, is that the way you play the game is you'll have balls which are teeth inserted in here. I probably best show you on the real one actually. In here, you will have our white balls, which are here, and they sit as the teeth, and you will have 3 of those that you're going to try and knock out, and then try and keep 3 on the other side. The little black ball inserts as the nose, which is much, much harder to reach, and it's much, much harder to knock out. Generally, we find it takes 2 tries to get that out, so you have to do a difficult shot twice to win, but that is an automatic win. If you hit that black nose and you get it on the other side, you have won. Similarly, if you get all the 3 teeth to the other side, you have won, right? Sounds reasonable as to what you need to do, makes lots of sense. So, first of all, not only can we not insert it, we also can't insert the black ball for the nose, which is one of the win conditions, because it's not there, and there is not enough space for it. Just simply won't hold a ball. It just won't do it. So really, there's very little you can actually do with this. But let's carry on. So, what is also here are our cat paws. Now, difference in quality is astonishing. So these are still plastic, the original, but they're a soft touch and they're quite nicely made. They're matte as well rather than gloss. And then we swap over to a very, very shiny, smaller paw without any of those details added on. But granted, it does actually stick. It has been magnetised. You can flick those, albeit a little bit more gently, because these ones are a little bit better in terms of strength. They hold it more so your flick has more impact. And then the balls. Let's talk about those. So I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do this without showing you them in the bag, so I apologise for how this shot is going to look, but the difference in size and style is rather noticeable. So they clearly know that they've ruined it so you can't have the white teeth or the black nose, because they've not given us any, they've just given us yellow balls. But in comparison to the size, it's a bit mad. Now, in addition to that, these are sort of a soft touch. I don't really know how to explain them. They're almost a little bit rubbery, so they are quite nice and easy to pick up when you're sort of scrabbling and you're moving around very quickly. These tiny things are just little balls of plastic. They have like there's no redeeming features in them. They are just tiny, tiny little balls of plastic. Now, will they even flick? Okay, so it sits in the paw. That's a bonus. Ooh. Okay, they're really aggressive as well. So the benefit as well with these being slightly bigger and heavier is that when they sail through, they tend to stick on target. The lighter very clearly is a lot more like zappy. Like, it's gonna get there quicker, it's a lot more brutal, but obviously it can't do anything because this won't go in and there's nothing for it to do when it does. This whole experience kind of baffles me because I don't understand how you can look at this and get to this in the sense, this is a functioning product. It is absolutely not a functioning product. You cannot even play the game. Now again, looking at that original listing, you will have seen all the pictures from this, thought you were getting that and ended up with this. Absolutely baffling. These must have fallen out from the teeth because I don't really know what it is otherwise. But there's these tiny little, let's see if I can show you. These little bits, where are you? these little bits here. And there's sort of no reason for that. I don't really understand why that's there or what the point of it is. Is there something underneath? Is that what it's trying to... Oh my god, no it's not, no it's not, it's out. Oh, okay, I love, look at the magnet's just sellotaped on there. There's something, okay, there's something adorable about that, but even so, this should not exist. What are our last bits? So we also have these. I don't really understand what the point of these are. They're not something of the main game. The only thing I can think of is these have got little cuts in, whether they're designed to be the bumpers perhaps. So do they fit in there? Oh, actually, those little bits I've just said I don't know what they are, match those bits. So potentially early form of bumpers. Let me just pop these in and then I'll show you what I've done. Okay, so they don't fit well, but the intention is clearly to try and make it so that there's this bit stopping it from escaping so much into the back, which is in this one as well. You'll see those here. But one thing I will note that I haven't set up is these extra bits of card that are in, and these slot into the game itself. So if I just pop those in very, very quickly to show you what I mean, this is all designed to try and prevent you from losing the balls themselves. That way around, I always get it wrong. So eventually your game board ends up looking like that, so that you have bumpers and you're not going to lose it anytime soon. None of that here. I mean, we still can't play the game, but we're playing with lighter balls that you have to flick even further because they're so light they'll just fly through. This would be a mess. Even if we could insert that cat head, this would be an utter mess. And really, I feel like that summarises this whole experience. Is this just a mess? How could this happen? The only thing I can give it is that I think perhaps it was like an early prototype where the designs had been stolen, I think is a fair word to say, because it certainly shouldn't be in production, and that's why it has all the hallmarks of it. It's like nearly there, but it's not, and it's just baffling. Its entire existence is baffling. Like why would you knock off somebody else's game other than just simply for profit? But it's theft because you're stealing someone else's ideas and logic inside a box that, it just baffles me. It just baffles me. Now, I have spoken to a lot of people about things like this. It's been quite a funny story. A thing to talk about is that they managed to buy a knockoff version of it, had to go through the whole process of getting a refund, that this thing is such a poor knockoff, only to find that actually a lot of my gaming group had experienced things like this, not to this extent at all, but for example a friend of mine was saying that he was saying you shouldn't buy Catan anymore, he said, because the quality of the newer versions is horrendous. He said it's nothing like I've ever seen. He said, I'm really surprised that they're still making money. And at that point I turned to him and was like, that's really surprising because that's not the experience I've had with versions of Catan at all. So are you sure that it's a legitimate version? He sort of looked at me and said, oh, actually, good point. Not too sure. It turns out, after some Googling, the one that he bought that he believed was a legitimate copy came up as with a little asterisk at the bottom saying a Catan-styled game. So it was not an official copy, it was not as it should be, and that's the reason for the lower quality. So it is something. This comes, I suppose, with a bit of a warning. Be careful what you're buying. Try and buy from legitimate places if you can. Places like Zatu, for example, places like ourselves in the game store, you'll pick up legitimate copies, because what happened here? Oh my goodness. This is one of those where I sort of, you have to laugh or you'll cry. It is a horrible thing to happen. I'm going to take the humour from this in the fact that this is just so dreadfully bad. And you know, the one thing that we've left, one thing I've left to the end is my favourite part about why this game is so bad in comparison to the original. The game is called A Game of Cat and Mouth. Do you know what this smaller version is called? Have you noticed it? Have you seen it before now? Let me know in the comments if you legitimately seen it before now. It's called A Game of Cat and Mouth. So I have had a bit of a giggle today going through this. We've had a bit of a giggle at the expense of this poorly made copy that thankfully we ended up giving no money to because they gave a full refund. But It's sad that this exists, but we've got to see the humour. This is a funny, awful version of it that has just made me laugh. I hope it's made you laugh too. Let me know in the comments if you've had any experiences of this, if this has happened to you, if you've been caught out by something, if someone you know has been caught out by something. Tell us, let us know, because I love, some of these stories can be quite funny and I quite like to hear them if that's the case. Hopefully you all got your money back. Hopefully there was no money made out of these forgeries, but let me know, because I'd love to hear it. As always, you can find more from us at tabletopgaming.co.uk, and again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great day.